everybody, to this episode of the Women in Technology Spotlight. Today, I have with me Emily Andrews, who is a senior cloud sales specialist at VMware. Welcome, Emily.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you for coming on my show. It's so great to have you here. Let's just kick it off with a little bit about yourself. So who are you, Emily?
So my name is Emily Andrews, and thank you so much for having me with you today. I've only recently become Emily Andrews. Some of my colleagues might know me as Emily Smith previously. I got married during coronavirus and during the pandemic. So that was a challenging time when we had 180 people invited to our wedding, and we cut it down to 30, but we had the most perfect day, and the objective was to get married, and we did that. And that's kind of very representative of my personality style. You know, I'm quite determined and stubborn soul, and really do like to, if I set my heart on something, I'm very passionate and driven about achieving that. I am 30 years old. I've been in the tech industry for 7 years now, and I have a whirlwind of a 3-year-old called Harvey, who's keeping me occupied. But the IT industry is also a very big love of mine.
So congratulations. Talking about, the IT industry and having a little kid at home and marrying during Corona just brings me to all these things I will want to ask you. But before I do that, I was wondering, you say you're 30 and you have been in the tech industry for 7 years. So what is your educational background? Because you started out quite young, right?
Yeah. When I talk to some of my peers, they've been in the IT industry since they were like 18. So I kind of feel a bit of a new girl on the block sometimes. But I went and did my A-levels, and then went and did an undergraduate in psychology, and then went and did a master's in business psychology. I think I was always one of the people that if someone said, what do you want to do when you grow up? I was like, I just want to sell stuff. Sales runs through my body. I love selling things. I love being with people. I find human beings fascinating, and being in a position where you not only sell to individuals, but you work alongside colleagues, especially at VMware, that are, and I know I'm on a VMware, video thing, but really are the best people in the industry. I get to see and be with these people all of the time. So I really did just want to sell something. The fact that I sell IT and I work in the healthcare sector, so I feel like I sell into a good cause, and I have a social responsibility to get this right. And I remember hearing Pat Gelsinger at VMworld talking about tech for good. And I feel that working in the healthcare sector and looking at the innovation that people are bringing into the healthcare sector, and kind of sometimes getting them out of a bit of a rut because they are a little bit old school sometimes, it's just fascinating. And even though my background is in psychology, and people go, yeah, but you're not a psychologist, it's to do with people, it's to do with business, and it's to do with organizations and how people vibe with one another. So there is some transferability between the two.
I do think there is. I would have asked you too. So, when you say you always knew that you wanted to go into sales and you're really passionate, I can feel that. Why exactly did you choose psychology? But then on the other hand, I do understand that it's about people and understanding people and what drives them. And that's so there's a good overlap between the two, right?
Yeah. And I always remember reading this fascinating statistic where it talked about 84% of all purchasing behaviors and all purchases that are made by women. And yet, when you look at the board of directors of organizations, you look at women in power, you look at CXOs that are female, they're not representative of the 50% of society, and they're definitely not representative of the 83% of all the sales being made by women. There's this kind of delta between where women are making all the buying decisions in their home, and yet the things they're buying, they're not being representative within that sector. And I find that the ability to be able to translate sales as a woman within IT, with then having maybe a psychologist view of the world, maybe is a bit of the perfect storm.
I do think so. It sounds like you have the perfect background to actually work with people. Personally, I feel that women are especially good at working in this field, especially in this pre-sales, sales field in the tech industry, because they have this empathy and they have this understanding of people and they know how to build relationships. But you also touched on this really interesting statistic, so that 83% of the buying decisions are made by women. Yeah. And that most of the technology that we sell is not made by women, and also the companies you sell to are not made. And this brings me to a topic that's very close to my heart, which is that I feel that we need to change the tech sector, and you and me, of course, are representative of a new world in the tech sector, to bring more women in, to make them more representative. So you said you always wanted to sell tech, so to sell, not tech necessarily. How did you get into the whole tech field?
It was a little bit strange. I was living back at home doing my master's with my mom, and it just got to the stage where we literally had no money. And this is not like a sob story. It was like, you need to go and find a full-time job. Like, we've got 3 pence to rub together. Mm-hmm. So I put my CV out there. I hadn't even finished my master's yet. Put my CV out there on like Indeed.com or whatever these job search engine things are. And a company called Pareto Law rang me and said, we're a graduate recruitment agency and we're running this assessment centre day. Mm-hmm. It's going to be in Leeds and we're running the day and it's on this date. Can you make it? Mm-hmm. And I remember seeing how much a train ticket was to get to Leeds and seeing how much money I had in my bank and going, I'm going to have like £4 left if I don't. But going, okay, this is the long game. This is the long game. So I went and did this assessment centre day and ended up being put on their books, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And they then rang me and said, there's a sales role that's just up the motorway from you. Do you want to go and interview for it? And I was like, yes, because, I can't afford to put petrol in my car. Yes, okay, we've got to go and do it. I ended up ringing the office of, it was Arrow ECS, the distribution arm. Yeah. So I ended up ringing the Nottingham office of Arrow and saying to the receptionist, this is a really random phone call, but I'm coming to interview on Friday. And I just wanted to know, can you tell me something about the culture? Can you talk to me about Arrow? Can you tell me things that I'm not going to find on the webpage? And saying, what's the vibe for dressing like? Is it dress and heels? Is it jeans and a shirt? Like, talk to me. I want to fit in from the first step. And I met the sales director, who is a lady called Denise Bryant. And from the moment I met her, she just rocked my world. I was like, what a powerhouse of a woman. I just thought she was so inspirational. The way that she didn't talk to me about technology. She talked to me about solutions. She talked to me about opportunity. And it was like, sales, powerhouse of a woman. Yes, this is like fantastic. And by the time I'd got home, they rang and they said, we'd like to offer you this job. And I'm going, fantastic. What actually is it? Because I've still got no idea of what on earth I've interviewed for. I ended up starting, again, before my master's even finished, which was a bit of a whirlwind. And I remember for the first 3 months, not understanding a single word that anybody said to me. They talked in acronyms. Usually all of them were 3-letter. And I remember sitting in a meeting and being like, it's like everyone's talking like Dothraki to me. Got no idea what anyone's saying. Everyone seems very confident. And I'm just like smiling in the corner, like, what on earth is happening? And then one day the penny dropped. Mm-hmm. And suddenly I started talking back in acronyms. And my brain started converting this other language into English. And everyone has just been so well across the IT industry, all the people that I've met, everyone is just interested in working hard, earning good money. That's going to drive everybody, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. And also, we don't seem to have this kind of like, we're not clambering over each other to get to the top. We want people to come to the top with us. And I find that across male and female colleagues, which is really supportive. And then I moved to VMware and started and I've only ever sold cloud. I don't know how to, I'm admitting some of my weaknesses, but I don't know how to sell like hardware or anything like that. I only know how to sell cloud. So my 7 years worth of experience has been kind of very intense around the cloud environment. And I feel like I was maybe in the right space at the right time, in the right momentum. But my career has definitely gone by the seat of its pants. And sometimes I don't really know how I've got here. Maybe a bit of imposter syndrome sinks in a little bit, but it's been a whirlwind, but it's been one of the best journeys of my entire life. Like the amount of opportunities and individuals that I have met have scoped my kind of existence in this world. And my husband also works in IT, so I met him too. So that's always helpful.
Yeah, you mentioned such an interesting thing, because I do remember, for me, it was when I came to VMware. I worked at other companies before, and then I came to VMware, and the first few months I was also in all these conversations where people were talking and I had no clue what they were talking about. And I was really, really worried that I made the wrong decision. And I also started suffering a little bit from imposter syndrome, because I thought, oh my God, they will find out that I have no clue what I'm doing.
And I do think that women are a little bit more like we kind of absorb imposter syndrome a little bit more, because we look around and we don't necessarily see loads of us represented all of the time. And the tide is turning. I feel the momentum. I think it's amazing. But we still don't look out. I mean, we're not in an office anymore, but I'm still having meetings where there's me and 16 other gentlemen, which is fine. But we need to start appreciating that as that consumeristic behavior is being made by 83%, is being made by women, that having representation that is of at least remotely similar fashion in regards to creating the sale for people or advising the sale for people is also maybe has a women's centric view, or at least is representative of women. But that imposter syndrome, that sometimes can kick you a little bit hard, can't it?
Yeah, it can. And the thing is, the tech world has changed since we built this world in the last 25 years, maybe, that is completely dependent on technology. We now, I feel, have to build technology and sell technology that is representative of the society. It used to be a place where mainly men were, they had their toys and they were doing tech and they built stuff that was very much in the background of society. But now, with the whole digitalization, it just affects every one of us. And we have to have people inside of tech that represent that, and make it possible for others to relate to it and to build technology that actually works for women as well.
Oh, it's about representing, put my teeth back in. It's about representing all of society. So whether it's gender, whether it's age, whether it's ethnicity, whether it's disability, whether it's sexuality, all of these things are to be celebrated. And being diverse and being inclusive is something I'm really passionate about, because the more diverse and the more inclusive we are, the more that helps everybody. I don't see it as a downfall, but I'm sat here now and I've got 2 iPhones, I've got a laptop, I've got a Mac. We're inundated with IT, we're inundated with all the things that technology does for us, and it's got to be user friendly to everybody as well. And I remember reading, there was a chapter of a fantastic book that I was reading that talked about how back in the day, police like gun vests, kind of bulletproof vests that they were wearing weren't made for women.
Invisible women. That's an invisible
women. I have it. I think it's on my bedside table. But yeah, invisible women. And we talk about the fact that that bulletproof vest, it was not made for a woman's shape.
Yeah.
And yet police officers are still women too.
Yeah.
You know, this is about maybe being a bit sensitive to those things as well.
Yeah, and these are the things that are changing, because now there are actually more women inside of these fields and also in tech, and they have a different view and approach to all these things. And and I think that is something that we will be seeing more and more. Coming back to what you told me about getting into IT, I want to go back to that woman, Denise. So I found it so interesting that you found this role model in her, and that she fascinated or you so much that you felt that this was the right thing. I think it's so important to have role models and also people that we try to emulate or you know, show us how it can be, right?
And she still works in IT. I still keep in touch with her. And she's kind of, you know, I do always, when I talk to her, I always smile because it takes me back to that moment. I remember which room we were in the Arrow office, and I can see it like it was yesterday. But not only that, she represents for me the start of this journey and this career that I'm so blessed to have. She started the ball rolling. So not kind of, I suppose I see her as a powerhouse, a role model, someone who really inspired me, because she was not a pushover. She was a tough cookie. And she kind of, this was how she liked it, and this was how things were done. You know, she wasn't kind of, I don't know, she wasn't soft and necessarily
she wasn't cuddly.
No, well, she was just a really wonderful person and someone that I really respected. But singers with that, she also gave me this opportunity that started my IT career. So when I think about my IT career, it has to start at day one with her. But as I've kind of moved, you know, she's moved into different roles and so have I've found inspirational and aspiring people across my career anyway. There was actually a lady that recently left VMware called Carol Vallette. And we started on the same day at VMware, and there was just something about her. She gave off a really positive vibe, but she didn't stand for any rubbish. You know, she was still strong. She was still, and I'm saying still, but she managed to take all of the things that are fantastic about salespeople and about being a woman and about being a manager, and gave all of those vibes when they were talking with me. And I think that being able to see someone like you in an environment that they're successful, they're being career orientated, and they've then got a family, because that's really important to me. It's like you can have all these things, and it does give you those kind of those little nuggets of gold, those moments where you go, yeah, you can have it all, and that's totally possible to do so.
Yeah, I very much like how that you said she combined everything that's great about being a salesperson, but also about being a woman, because I think that's so important. It's not about us coming into tech and becoming men. It's about bringing our whole self into tech and using what we are good at to make this in an even better place.
Most definitely.
Yeah. And I just remembered something you said about your mom. So you grew up with your mom. She was a single mother? Or
no, but she ended up being my stepdad had left, so we ended up kind of being me, my mom and my sister at home quite a lot. And yeah, she all my family are teachers, like every single member of my family. My sisters are all teachers, their partners are all teachers, grandparents, aunties, uncles, cousins, all teachers. So I'm like the black sheep of the family. But there's definitely kind of a hard work ethic that my family just have running through their bones. And very much Melinda talks about grit and determination and the hustle. And, you know, my life hasn't been full of sunshine and roses, but when you get the opportunities that you can see kind of there's some sparkle in there, You grab it with both hands and you throw yourself into it, because nothing comes easy, but it's all the better when you have worked hard, you have put all of that effort and that time in. And my mom is, you know, a remarkable woman. She's not necessarily, like I said, she's a teacher, but so she hasn't got necessarily that business acumen side to her, but the transferability of the things that she delivers, and how she always strives to get what she feels that she deserves and what she wants. It's like, yes, absolutely. And her being a working mom as well, it's like, I've got to kind of carry that on as well.
That's also part of being a role model, showing your daughters that it's okay to be a working mom. I mean, you know, that's also very important. There's something I was just thinking about. Yeah. Does your family understand what you do?
No. No. I think my grandma at one point thought I was a spy. I was like, no, that's definitely not it, Grandma. But I think that's also kind of part of the fun, is that they're like, yeah, but seriously, what? And then when my grandma's friends ask, and she's like, well, she knows how to fix my laptop. No, Grandma, that's still not quite right. But my husband's family all have IT backgrounds.
Oh, okay.
So that's very interesting, that the dynamic and the conversation changes slightly, just because there's maybe a more educated and informed conversation around IT. But when we talk about IT all day, every day in the week, because sometimes at home I don't want to talk about it. Like, right, 6 o'clock, no more IT talk. That's it, we're done. But at the same time, I'm very passionate about my job. You know, I genuinely, you know, it's like a bit sickeningly sweet. I genuinely feel privileged to work in this industry. I feel privileged to work at VMware, and I feel privileged to have the job that I've got. I feel like I've earned it with grit and determination and hard work, but I still really value the role that I have at VMware, and the role that I hope that I can coach other people on, you know, as I kind of move through my career. Because I think it's really valuable to share those experiences and say to, you know, groups of 11-year-olds. I do some stuff with you know, like the foundation work. Go and talk to a group of 11-year-olds and say, you know, you can go and do IT sales. You could go and do IT coding. You could go and be a pre-sales person. Like, all of those things that you wouldn't have maybe thought that you could do. Yes, you can. You can do all of those things. And maybe I would be a mentor for someone someday when I get a bit older.
Yeah, I'm sure you will, because I can feel that you really appreciate what you're doing and you're very passionate about it. And I just want to take you a little bit there, why you feel that you're privileged to be in this industry. Talk a little bit about, you know, do you feel that it gives you freedom financially with your time management, or what is it that makes it a great place to be?
I'm going to specifically talk about VMware because I'm a VMware cheerleader. I tell everyone how fantastic this place is. And again, it's not just because I'm on a VMware thing right now. I would say
it's not actually a VMware thing, so you can be free.
Oh, great. Well, even better. It looks like I've not been paid off to say it, because I really haven't. But there's very much the money is fabulous. You know, we're in an industry where I need recognition. I'm that type of person. And I know when I've done a good job and we've done a sale, money then comes back to me, and I like that cycle. I like the fact that my son goes to the best nursery that, you know, that I could possibly find for him, and he's just, you know, relishing in that environment. I love the fact that myself and my husband are starting to embark on new journeys and new adventures in regards to like buying a second property and potentially like and renting it out and things like that. I like the fact that we were able to buy the house that we're in a really lovely, you know, quintessentially English little village. I love that it gives us those options and those opportunities, but also at the same time, I love the fact that we have epic days. Like, I can't tell you how fantastic having last Friday was off. We had that as an epic day, and I had a 3-day weekend, which was just amazing. I love the fact that I've been here for long enough now. I get 28 days of holiday that I can go and I can spend with my husband and my son doing whatever. I love the fact that when I was on maternity leave, I was like literally like waved off, and everyone was like, have the best time off. And then when I finished my 9 months, they were like, we really missed you, please come back. Like, I was made to feel very valued. And the maternity pay was fantastic. Maternity package that VMware's got is fantastic. It you know, for me, the freedom is so multifaceted. It's financial freedom. It's the fact that they pay for my dental. I know that sounds really silly, but it means something to me. The fact that I have health insurance, I have, you know, sick and, you know, illness cover. I know that I'm taken care of across all of my kind of physical and mental needs. And I've used some of the mental well-being resources that we've got, which for me, it makes me think that VMware care about me as a person. And therefore, because they're investing in me, I want to invest in them. So my social responsibility feels like it's towards VMware, because VMware's social responsibility feels like it's towards me. And that balance is quite liberating, actually. And I'm here because I want to be, not because I have to be, because I feel like I could, you know, I think I could go and get a job somewhere else. But I don't want to. I want to be at VMware because they make, you know, they do make me feel very valued. And I why would you not want to work for an organization where you don't just feel like a number? I'm Emily Andrews in this organization. I'm not just, you know, employee number 35 or whatever it is.
Very true. You know what I just realized? We talked about why you like working here and how you came here, but we never talked about what you actually do. I mean, yes, sales. What is cloud sales? What does your day look like?
So that's part of it, right? Is my day is mix up of anything and everything all day, every day. Most of my time is spent with customers. And for that I love my job for that. I want to be with customers. I'm not 100% yet how much I want to be out of the house. I've probably become a little institutionalized in my own four walls, but we're getting there. But I look after, like I said, all of the NHS. So, you know, a lot of stuff is being done over Zoom, and practice what we preach. You know, we sell mobile working. It's like, let's use it and be successful with it. So yeah, I spend most of my time with customers, and then probably a larger portion of my time is spent in doing admin, which is, I don't enjoy that about my role at all. It gets me paid, but I'd rather just do the selling and let someone else do the admin. But yeah, the majority of the time I'm informing and educating and enabling customers to use the cloud, to be able to innovate, to be able to use it in a really flexible and agile way, and to be able to respond to the demands of the consumer. And the consumer could be, for example, Interflora, which is, you know, obviously the massive flower delivery company, having their peaks around Valentine's Day and not having to base their IT needs on the peak of Valentine's Day spend, but being able to have this very standard status quo and very realistic and maybe modest IT infrastructure. And then when the mad seasonal peaks come into play, they use the cloud for all these needs, and then they drop back down again. So you're helping organizations have a more static and visible view of their minimal IT infrastructure or minimum viable product, and then be able to use the cloud to start to innovate and do something really good. But one of the things that I think I'm most proud about, that, you know, specifically to my role, is when the pandemic hit, we suddenly had everyone that was in an office going, oh, by the way, you can't come in and work in an office anymore, and we need you to work from home. So I had organizations in the NHS that went from no one working at home to 800 people working at home in the space of like a handful of days, you know, and COVID has very much taught us that being able to pivot on a knife edge is so relevant. We need to be able to do that so quickly, because it's not just about innovation, it's about responding sometimes to the fires that we're fighting. And we were able to offer, by using the cloud, the ability for one of the hospitals I look after, for 800 people to be working from home in the space of less than a week. So being able to give the solution to the response that the world was going through, that was a really proud moment. So yeah, that's that's kind of a summary of my job. But like I said, my grandma still doesn't know. My mom doesn't know. I don't expect anyone else to know overnight.
No, I think that's amazing, and it's part of the fun working for a big technology company like VMware. You know, being at the forefront of societal shifts and being able to support customers through them. So yeah, I totally agree with that. So we're already at the end of our half hour, surprisingly. So my last question usually is, if you talk to a younger woman who is unsure what to do, if she wants to go into tech, what would be your tip or takeaway from your experience that you would give her?
I mean, I'm definitely biased because I'm having the most wonderful time. But I think that you can only lose an opportunity if you don't grab it with both hands. And you know, I could have very much, when I first joined Arrow and everyone was talking to me in acronyms and, you know, a different language, that I could have gone, whoa, I'm bowing out of this. I have no idea what's happening. Some of those steep learning curves are the most valuable and the most kind of enlightening when you don't get, I don't think we'll ever get to the stage of expert, but you start to live and breathe it. And people move roles, change direction. People go and get doctorates at the age of 60. People and go back into studying when they're 45. This is your life. So on your deathbed, you want to look back and go, oh, really made the most of it. Because life is very precious and very fragile. So go and take the opportunity. If it's not right for you, that's okay too. You know, there's learnings in failures and failures in learnings. So actually being able to go into an IT organization and go, I've got no idea what I'm doing. Don't worry, no one else has got any idea what they're doing either. That's probably
yeah, thank you for that. That's a very good point and a very good end to our conversation too. So thank you so much for sharing your story and your view of your role and technology, and yeah, thank you for talking to me.
Amazing. Thank you so much.